Chapter 23. Bancroft House, Somerset, England, June 10th, 1889. Athena was trapped in their dreams. It was the same dream which had plagued him for years now, the burned earth at his feet. Usually in these dreams there was comfort and triumph, positive feelings which held her aloft as a ruler over the charred world, even if those feelings were replaced by sickening guilt the moment she awoke. Now there was only fear within the nightmare. No matter which room Athena turned to, which empty doorframe they passed through, or which building on the decimated streets he entered, all of them were razed home, razed to the ground. Bodies were scattered around them at their feet, mangled and twisted human forms beyond recognition. The charred bodies of their friends, Athena realized, and dozens of strange, inky black creatures they had glimpsed in the other world. Athena did not know if those bodies were broken, or if they had simply always been that way, joints and bones bent and broken at odd angles. Athena could feel cold of that place, of the end, seeping into his skin, sliding underneath the flames and making every movement hurt, every muscle burning with the bite of that alien world. In the blink of an eye, Athena found themselves no longer running through the charred streets, but hanging in the open air, invisible weight dragging them down into the darkness of a pale stone cell, and Jamie's hands pulling them back upwards into the real world. Grasping hands gripped at their neck, and there was a weight of something else, too. The human. Surely he was human, wasn't he? With wild eyes and white hair, his arms wrapped tightly around Athena's legs, trying to force them back through the rift. How long had Athena hung there, suspended in the air above that pale cell? Surely it could not have been long, not with the fight going on in Ray's home and the length of time Jamie held them. Yet in that other world it had felt like hours, every second stretched into agonizing perpetuity. His arms burned from clinging to Jamie, muscles aching from the tight grip. She could feel a sickening, wet sensation as blood dripped from her ears, sliding down her neck in rivers as the unearthly screeching of that other world, the screeching of Endirion, burrowed into his skull. The dream shifted again, and now Athena cradled the limp form of Ray in their hands as shapes moved about them, indistinguishable in the fire. This was a nightmare they had suffered too many times before, and the agony felt numb and familiar to them. Only now there was something new. A harsh banging, the horrible, sickening sound of broken and bleeding hands pounding on wood, no more than sticks and raw meat as they scraped against the barrier. Athena could hear Jamie's muffled screams, pleading for them, begging for them from inside of the basement. Athena stood up from the body of Ray, trying to move towards the sounds. Except there were no doors. There was no basement. There was only the flames and the persistent screams of their best friend trapped just beyond reach. Oh, thank God, you're waking up. The familiar voice beside them was dripping with a tenderness which sounded almost, if not quite, genuine. Athena's eyes cracked open groggily. They could feel something caked on their skin, their hair stuck to their forehead, and for a terrifying moment Athena was afraid it was blood caked upon their skin, the same as it always was in their dreams. There was a refreshing silence that washed over them, devoid of human screams and the monstrous roar of the flames as they were lifted gently out of sleep's grasp. Where? Athena's eyes wound their way up to... Sherbet? The name came out slurred as Athena's numb mouth refused to work. He scrambled back, knocking his head on the bed's headboard as he jerked away from the infected face of Sherbet, who sat patiently on a chair pulled up beside the bed. Stay back. Her arms gave out beneath her, and Athena dropped back to the bed, falling into the pillows and tangled sheets. Sherbet lifted their hands in a gesture of peace. I'm not going to hurt you, Athena. Why should I believe that? Sherbet nodded understandingly. Well, if I was going to hurt you, surely I would have done it while you were asleep. Athena's breathing was heavy, and their tired but frantic eyes wove around the room, observing it all in a clarity that overwhelmed him. It was not a room they had seen before, sparsely yet lavishly furnished. There was nothing but the large, soft bed Athena was lying in, a desk, a chest of drawers, and the chair on which Sherbet was sitting. I suppose... Athena took a moment to look at Sherbet properly through eyes caked with tears and dust. The purple, stretching veins and capillaries were still present, inching up their neck and across their jaw, working towards their mismatched eyes, which still glistened with a purple sheen in the light of the room. Yet they seemed cleaner, overall. More put together. More like, well, themselves. Sherbet's hair had been cut and cleanly styled. The blood from their eye had been cleaned, the caked remnants from the last time Athena had seen the chemist all washed away, although another drop was beginning to bead in the corner of their eye. Even their clothes seemed crisper and better maintained. I want to apologize for our last meeting, Athena. Sherbet's voice was soft. It was the voice Athena had always known before the infection. The close friend of Ray's who Athena had visited and run messages to, even trained under at times. Perhaps it was only in her mind that Athena could still hear the traces of that wild, angry voice from the laboratory days before. I have not been myself lately. None of us have, I fear. But I suspect you realize that with what became of Raymond in his final days. The words "in his final days" did not exactly click in Athena's mind. They had stopped at the border of their thoughts, waiting to be allowed in, delayed until such time as her tired brain could process it. Where am I? Athena looked around once more. The darkness in the portal. The end. I heard Endirian, and there was a man in the end, and Jamie... Athena pulled themselves up in the bed frantically. Sherbet raised themselves out of the chair, and with gentle, albeit purple-stained hands, they guided Athena back to the bed. Please, Athena, you need to calm down. We're in Bancroft House. It's a property Easton owns in the countryside. There's a lot that has happened in the days you've been unconscious. I wanted to wait until you were properly awake to tell you. Days? Athena asked, wiping a numb hand across her face. It came away streaked with ash and tears. Dr. Quakeson, what happened? Are you still... Sherbet shook their head. Infected, as you and Jamie called it? Under Endirian's control? No, I'm not. As you may have noticed while caring for Raymond, lucidity seems to come in waves. In that time, since the incident, when the mania overtook us that night, I have been developing a cure. It seems to be working so far, too, which is a good thing. Easton, David, and I have shown no adverse symptoms since the night the portal was opened to the end. Apart from this. A slender hand, marred by its own purple veins, touched the dark markings on their neck. I am working on reversing it too. Otherwise, however, we're cured. Athena swallowed. What about Ray? Have you cured him too? We have to let him know if you solved it. Dr. Quixon surveyed Athena with their two-toned eyes, dabbing at the pooling blood with a handkerchief. Their expression was unreadable. Athena, how much do you remember from that night in London? Athena worried at the edge of the blankets, pulling them up further over his ripped and smudged clothes as he picked at them. All of it, I think. Until Jamie pulled me out of the end. Ray was in the air. He was floating, and you all had forced him to... We didn't force Raymond to do anything, Sherbet interjected, a little sternly. He was under the same influence as us, the influence of Endirian. He performed those actions willingly, in a way. Athena nodded. Oh. Well, Jamie and I tried to stop Ray, and then David and Easton attacked us, and I fell through the rift into that other world. I don't remember coming back out, only that I did. What was it like? Sherbet asked, trying to suppress a note of whimsy in their voice. Being there, in the end. hearing Endirian so clearly. Cold, Athena mumbled. It was so cold and dark. There was no sun in the sky, no moon or stars, only a darkness that went on forever, filled with pale yellow and white stone. And it was so loud, the screaming of those things. I must have been there for so long. Sherbet shook their head. You were only within the end for a minute, Athena. 2 or 3 at most. And when you came out, do you remember what you did, Athena? Athena shook their head, confusion etched into their brow. I don't know. I must have passed out, I suppose, from the shock of it all. It's hard to describe, I suppose, Sherbet chuckled. It's funny how we fail to describe the most important, miraculous things. You exploded, Athena. You released a wave of energy, of fire. It was sheer power that you unleashed when you emerged from the rift. An explosion from deep within you, rippling through existence. It obviously took a lot out of you, given your current condition. You destroyed Raymond's house, Athena. In a single burst of energy, you made it crumble. Athena blinked, the words slowly processing. That didn't make sense. He couldn't have done anything like that. Then again, nothing in these last 3 months had made sense. Everything around them had been pulled so far away from his concept of reality. Could he truly say it wasn't possible? She had released the deadly fire from within her dreams, but they were only nightmares, confined to sleep. That's what everyone had told them. Ray, Jamie, even Professor Taurus. Just dreams. They couldn't have really done something like that. Dr. Quakeson, that's impossible. I couldn't... Who are we to say what's impossible, Athena? Sherbet asked. There was a gentleness to their voice that Athena wasn't expecting. Do you remember when you came to see me while I was under Endirian's control? What I said about where you came from? Athena nodded. Sherbet sat back down. You're special, Athena. None of us knew it. I doubt even Raymond knew it when he took you in. Do you remember the night that he did? Athena chewed their lip. They couldn't bring themselves to entirely reject their suspicions of Sherbet, and they inched a little further away in the bed. I know some things. That he found me by the side of the road. He thought I'd been thrown from a carriage. That perhaps I hit my head in the impact, and that's why I don't remember anything before then. Sherbet smirked. You're not entirely incorrect. Raymond found you in a crater, Athena. An impact in the earth that you made. Of course, he couldn't explain it, but he didn't know then. He didn't know what Endirian has shown me about you. You are a being made of more power than anyone could ever imagine, Athena. You're something from another world. Not the end, the one you visited, but one like it. A world of fire and brimstone and destruction. You are the heir to a god, Athena. A being far beyond human capabilities. That is what Endirian showed us. Athena blinked at them. They shook their head instinctively, rejecting the idea. They weren't special. They weren't supernatural. This was all ridiculous. It had to be. No, that can't be. She wanted to say it wasn't true. Yet how could he say anything wasn't true anymore? After the end. Could they truly say that Sherbet was wrong? I'm not... Dr. Quakeson, I'm not like that. I'm not what you're saying. I'm just a person. Look at me. I can't be something like Endirian. But you are. Sherbert raised their arms. Think about what you've seen, what you've done. Raymond's house reduced to rubble. That was you, Athena. Not the portal, not Endirion. That fire, that power, that was all you. That's... Athena shook their head, as if by doing so they could dislodge the cloudiness of waking and make it all clearer. As if maybe by rattling their brain the pieces would fall into place and everything would make sense. Where's Ray? I need to talk to him. And Jamie, are they here? Are they safe? Sherbert looked at the floor, their excitement vanishing in an instant. Athena, perhaps this is not the best time. What do you mean? Sherbert, where are they? I don't know how I can tell you this, Athena. Tell me what? Athena stressed, sitting up again. Where are they, Sherbert? Sherbert took a deep breath. A long inhale through their nose, exhale through barely parted lips, the sound lingering in the air. Raymond is dead, Athena. Where he was standing when you released that explosion, that fire. He took the brunt of that blast. The force of it, the heat of the flames, and the sheer power of it all. There was no way he could have survived. I'm so sorry. Shaking their head had obviously freed up too much space, and Sherbert's words now hung in the vacuum of Athena's mind, failing to connect with anything at all. They were simply echoing in her thoughts. Fresh tears pricked at his eyes, falling down previously carved channels in the dust on their face. No, that's not true. You're lying. I couldn't have... I didn't mean to. I didn't even know that I know you didn't mean to, Athena. No one could have guessed what you are, what you could do. But what's done is done. Raymond died in that blast. There was no way to save him. Sherbert shook their head, reaching out and resting a hand on Athena's shoulder. But you saved us. You closed the portal and... Dr. Quakeson hesitated for a moment, and stopped Endirion coming through. We lost him in the process, but that loss was not for nothing. Raymond gave his life for that portal to be closed. Sherwood wiped away a tear with the back of their hand. Athena's mouth opened and closed wordlessly as they tried to form any semblance of response, to make sense of something, anything at all. So it is my fault. Like Jamie said, it's our fault. My fault. That's not true, Sherbert shook their head. You had no control. There was nothing anyone could have done. Raymond never knew what you were. Indeed, even we have the scarcest idea. Nobody... Sherbert paused, looking away. Nobody blames you for his death, Athena. Athena let out a sob he didn't realize had been forcing its way up his throat. I didn't want to hurt anybody, Athena stammered through tears, pulling her legs up to her chest under the covers. I didn't want to hurt Ray. I never wanted to hurt anybody. I'm just Athena. I'm not anything from another world. I know, child. We know. I am sorry this all had to happen like this. That you had to learn what you are like this. But we're here for you, at least. David, Easton, and myself. Sherbert moved to sit on the end of the bed, removing their hand from Athena's shoulder and patting his knee comfortingly. We are not scared of you, Athena. We have all done terrible things when we were not in control of ourselves. You are no different than any of us, and you deserve a chance at redemption, as we do. You deserve to be safe. Athena sniffled. She didn't look up for a long time, her head buried in her knees. Jamie, they said after a while, sitting up abruptly. Where is Jamie? They can't go back to Miss Pine, they're not safe. Athena's words caught in his throat as he looked at the distraught expression in Sherwood's eyes. Oh, gods. Did I couldn't have also... Please, not Jamie. I couldn't... Jamie is not dead, Athena. Sherbet shook their head quickly, looking away. At least, we don't think so. We hope not. When they pulled you out of the portal and your power was released, the blast knocked Jamie back into it themselves. I saw it before I fell unconscious. His body was thrown into the end before the portal snapped closed. They're trapped in there, Athena. No, Athena said quietly. Their thoughts were a mangled blur of the darkness of the end and the darkness of Jamie's cellar, of Jamie's weak-looking body and their scared brown eyes, the coldness of the end, their dream of Ray's body in their arms and Jamie's yelling, trapped out of sight. No, 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 they sobbed. There was a blinding burst of light and heat which bubbled up from their throat, robbing the breath from their chest. Sherwood was thrown from the bed, crashing into the opposite wall. One of the electric lights overhead exploded, sending shards of glass across the room as heat rushed through the air, making the old wallpaper warp and peel. Athena panted heavily, too stunned to move and sitting in a smouldering circle of ash and soot. Burn marks coated the headboard of the bed and stretched up the walls. The remnants of the sheets around them were blackened and charred, smouldering in a ring where a clean circle had been obliterated by the pure heat they had produced. The tears which fell from his eyes collected on the bed. Opaque white, solid crystal tears. Athena's breathing was ragged and panicked as they looked around at what they had just caused. Sherwood's clothes smoked as they picked themselves up from the floor against the wall. They patted out a small flame over their chest. Athena. I'm sorry, Athena wailed, scrambling back to push themselves into the corner between the backboard and the wall. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to, It's all right. Sherwood's breathing was laboured, and their face contorted in pain as they clasped a hand to their shoulder, which had been the first thing to hit the wall. It's all right, Athena. I'm all right. Sherbet moved to take a step towards the youth, but she screamed at them. No, stay away from me. Please, I don't want to hurt you. Please just stay away, Athena sobbed, trying to make themselves as small as possible in the corner of the bed. They had caused that. They didn't know how, but in some way they had released that blast. They could feel it, the way it had dragged the energy from deep within their chest. He could feel the cold void where the expelled heat had once been. And if they had done that, then perhaps they truly were what Sherbet said. Something from another world. Which meant they truly had destroyed the London home. They truly had killed Ray. Sherbet nodded, stepping back. If you wish, I won't come any closer just yet. We're going to help you, Athena. I promise. They shifted their hand from their shoulder to press over their heart. We'll help you learn who you are. Help you get through this. If you don't want us to get too close right now, while you can't control it, Seven can stay with you instead. Just while you're healing. You can't hurt him like you can us. Athena nodded shakily, although they refused to meet Sherbet's eyes. The chemist noticed that Athena's eyes were glowing, ever so faintly, casting a radiant light onto their knees which were pulled up to their chin. They had changed since the blast. Her eyes were no longer the dark brown they had once been. One was a deep crimson red and the other a blazing gold, contrasting the pale markings on their face even more. As Athena's breathing slowed and they calmed ever so slightly, the glow faded, and once again they appeared brown. Only they were not the same brown. The golden eye appeared lighter, almost amber in the dim light. Jamie, they're gone, Athena whimpered softly. Sherbet wrung their hands together nervously. Maybe not, Athena. It would be dangerous, but Easton and I are working on a way to reopen the portal. To bring Jamie back, if we can. It will be hard without knowing how Raymond did it, but we can try. We have to try for Jamie. You can help us when you feel better. Your abilities might be needed. Please, Athena mumbled into their knees once more. Please bring them back. I don't want them to be alone. Don't leave them alone. Not there. Never. We'll do our best. We care about them too. Sherbet paused, looking to the door. Are you all right to be left alone for just a little while? There is a bathroom through that door, all to yourself. Chemist gestured to a door on the far side of the room. And Seven will be just outside, should you need anything. I can send him with some water and some fresh clothes now that you're awake. If it's all right for me to leave you. Athena simply continued to cry, their body trembling beneath the sheets. Sherbet nodded and moved to leave the room, the door creaking ever so slightly as it opened. Dr. Quakeson? Athena asked quietly. Sherbet paused. Yes? I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Sherbet nodded, not looking at the child, but instead down the hall. Athena knew why. Sherbet couldn't even bear to look at him any longer. How could they look at her, after what she'd done? After learning what they were? I know you are, Athena, Sherbet said quietly, tone absent from their voice. I know you are. Sherbet stepped into the hall, leaving Athena alone in the quiet of the strange room. Sherbet let out a long sigh once on the other side of the door. David was leaning against a wall waiting for them. His infection had spread further still, covering most of his face now, and the purple veins seemed to pulse in the dim light, making him look monstrous in the shadowy hall. Easton was pacing back and forth, scratching nonchalantly at the blackened mold growing down their forearm like grasping vines. Seven stood obediently beside the door, as instructed. How did that go? Easton asked. We heard an explosion. Sherbet grinned. There was a purple sheen across their teeth and a foul-tasting film coating their tongue. Better than we could have possibly expected. He bought it all. And, dare I say it, they're even on board. Their little tantrum's display of power was something indeed. But is it enough power? David asked. His head snapped up to look at Sherbet as he spoke. None of them noticed the inhuman movement. Or if they did, they were so used to their own distorted movements that it no longer registered as strange. Is it enough to break through to the end? She isn't like Ray, and you know how disappointed Endirian is at our failure. It will be enough, Sherbet assured him. The child leveled a city block without even trying. If Endirian is correct, if they are the spawn of an entity of their caliber, even a weaker, false one as she speaks of this Netherim being, Athena will have more than enough energy to break between worlds. We just have to keep up the charade for a little longer, until he can use them properly. Endirian's will shall be enacted soon enough. Wonderful. David turned to walk away down the hall. I'll report the good news back to our goddess. Considering it seems she's given up on talking to you already. David's lip curled into a smile as he looked back over his shoulder. Where are you going? Sherbet growled. David shrugged. He didn't turn back around as he spoke. Back to London. I need my supplies if I must be forced to live here. Don't get yourself caught. Easton exhaled casually. We still don't know where Dr. Morningstar is. With any luck, he really did die, but I wouldn't get your hopes up. And Jamie, too. I've at least made sure he won't be returning to our mother after their little incident. They turned to Sherbet. She won't be a concern. They'll stick to Arboreal Manor, I hope. We'll keep it that way, Sherbet agreed. We just have to be careful. I'm always careful, David assured them before disappearing down the hall. Easton moved to follow. And where are you going now? Sherbet asked. Easton turned to look at their mentor and then continued to turn a slow circle, inspecting the walls. Decorating, I think. Bancroft House is a nice place, but it's awfully sparse. Perhaps some banners and tapestries could liven the space up. Make it a little less ominous. Or more so, I suppose. I'll see what fits us best, they chuckled. Sherbet was left alone with Seven in the hall. They shook their head. Ever since the portal had closed, Endirion had failed to speak to them, and that silence, the missing voice in the back of their mind, was wearing at their patience. It hurt them to be apart from her like this. Raymond had messed it up for all of them. He'd pay for that when Sherbet got the chance. They would make sure of it. Seven, old boy? Sherbet asked. Seven tilted his head on his thin metal neck. Yes, Dr. Quixon. Get Athena some water, will you? And some fresh clothes? Make sure he recovers all right. Of course, Dr. Quixon, the automaton nodded, beginning to walk away in his usual clicking, grinding way. And one more thing. Sherbet held up a hand. Seven paused, turning to look at them with glowing blue eyes. Make sure Athena doesn't leave that room. Not until we give the word. The metalwork which comprised Seven's face was, from a craftsmanship standpoint, incredible. It was elegantly simple yet beautifully detailed. What it failed to do in any way, however, was display emotion. This wasn't necessarily a problem, of course. Seven had no concept of emotion. He did not feel anything. He simply followed the orders given to him. It was not possible for Seven to even consider disobeying an order, as they had discovered in the past few days. Sherbet found security in that knowledge, and subsequently noticed nothing out of place. If Sherbet had been paying attention, however, they may have noticed something new. It was certainly new to Seven. There was an almost uncertain flicker in the smoky light behind the machine's glass eyes, a split second longer to respond than was normal. An ever so subtle shift in the way the machine nodded back at them. Of course, Dr. Quixon, Seven responded in his hollow, tinny voice. Your task has been accepted. Wonderful, Sherbet smiled, watching as Seven departed.